Hi, okay, welcome to session 12. We aren't doing the recap because obviously we did the consolidation last time. That's quite intense. We've gone over everything recently, so we're just going to get stuck into this new learning, and then the recaps will return next time, so there's no escape. We are returning to similarity just quickly to have a look at how we can bring algebra into this. The reason that I want us to be aware of it is because forming and solving equations, so algebra, can pop up and appear when we least expect it. And I think the more we're exposed to it, the better. So our previous history at grades sort of 4 and 5 with forming and solving equations tends to stick around the angles and the sort of areas and perimeters, that type of thing. So this is a little bit different. It can be done in a different way than what I'm about to show you in this session. There's always more than one way. The reason that I'm sticking with this particular method is it gives structure. So if you're stuck, you've got something to go to and help you. And it will work with everything. And I'm a massive fan of that, as you probably know by now. All right, so a very, very quick recap with our similarity, okay? Similarity is when you've got two shapes that are enlargements of each other. There is a scale factor that has made one bigger than the other or one smaller than the other. So the scale factor to go from this shape to this shape is clearly times 2. These edges match, and 5 times 2 is 10. If it was the other way around, if it was to take this shape to this shape, then the scale factor would be a half times by a half. Scale factors are always multiply, not divide. Okay. Now, when you can see it, you can see it. You just crack on and do it, don't you? But when you can't see it, then you have to have your own way of going about it. So let's just clean this up and put some different numbers on so that they're not as obvious to see. So if I have 4.2, 6.8, and let's say 10 here, and I was asking for this missing edge. Again, there is a way to approach this. Most people can just see it intuitively, crack on with it without having to think too hard. However, as our questions get trickier, certainly when the algebra comes in, sometimes we do need a little bit of structure. So I'm going to introduce the idea of the structure, even if you feel you don't need it for this type of question. And the structure is something called boxes and labels, something that I use absolutely all over the place. It kind of comes into its own from about grade 3 onwards. And then it's amazing just how many times this can save the day, literally. Okay, so I've got small triangle, big triangle. So I pop my labels on. I take my matching edges, which are these two here. It's not a very bright color. There we go. And I pop them side by side. So 4.2 is on the small triangle, 6.8 is on the big triangle. And then obviously these two match. I've got 10 on the big, and A is what I'm trying to equal. Okay. So this number here is what I call my trapped number. It can't escape. So if I hadn't filled in the missing box, that's the number I don't know yet. I wouldn't be able to get the 6.8 to slide into that space. The 10 could slide across, the 4.2 could slide down, but the 6.8 can't slide. Obviously, if you've had some experience already with the boxes and labels, then you know what I'm talking about. This is more for people that haven't. So that trapped number is always on the bottom of a fraction that I'm going to form. And then these two can go either way round. I could have put the 10 on the top if I wanted to, but you put it whichever way. If it's a calculator question, you're not even going to give it a second thought. You're just going to chuck it in there and do it. If it's non-calculator, you might take your time to just consider it a little bit more because you want to be able to work with the numbers in the most efficient way that you can. So you put that into your calculator and it would give you 6.1764, and we'll round to 1 decimal place. Okay, and then your units. We didn't put any on. I'm generally not planning to do that. We're just going to be working with the numbers, but if it'd be meters, I'd be putting meters, centimeters, etc., etc. So that's your basic. That is obviously not grade 6 maths. How do we start trying to get similarity harder? Well, we can bring the triangles into one diagram. So that is one way of doing it. So this isn't algebra that we are introducing at this stage, just the idea of the diagram appearing in a slightly different way. So what I want you to do is to hit that pause button and have a play with this question. We are wanting to find this missing edge here, which is A. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do my box. I've got a small and a big. The word in the exam would be similar. I'm really looking for that key word. As soon as I hear similar, then I know that the shapes are enlargements of each other, and I know that my structure of boxes and labels is going to support the maths and the methods that I want to do. Okay, now if I look at the angles, they haven't actually given me a value, but they have made it clear that these two angles are the same. Okay, they don't look the same, the diagram isn't drawn to scale, but they are the same. So I'm going to use that to help me identify which sides go together. So this A is opposite, and then this 11 is also opposite. It's opposite this one. So the 11 is on the big triangle. And the A, what I want to equal, so I'll pop it in there just so that I can see it is there. That leaves me 17 and 32. I have to have a pair that's going to help me solve this, guaranteed. So the 17 is on the small, the 32 is on the big, and now I've got everything I need. 32 is my trapped number, so that goes on the bottom. I can put the other two in any order I like, straighten the calculator, 5.843, and to one decimal place, 5.8. So if you got that right, well done. We are now going to move into seeing this with the algebra, okay? Now, we never know the type of question that we might get in an exam. So as I say, when it comes to learning our methods, our go-to, we want to train our brain to go through this process. We want to make sure it doesn't break down. So there's no point learning something that's only going to work for that question. We learn a method that's going to work regardless, okay? So we're going to look at this first question here, and we're going to put together our labels, boxes and labels. I can see my small triangle is here, my big triangle is here. So I've got my small and my big. Now my matching sides that give me my fact that go side by side in my boxes and labels are 3 and 9. They are my parallel sides. They're the bases of that triangle. Okay, they are 3 and 9. Now, the other information that I have in the triangle is this edge here is X, and that's the edge I'm trying to find. I can also see that this edge here is 10. So the full length down that side is X plus 10. I don't actually have a number for the small triangle, and I don't have a number for the big triangle. I've got X plus 10 on the big, and what I want to find is my X. I want to find X. Now I'm going to set this up in exactly the same way. I know that this is my trapped number, okay? I can put this in any order I like. I'm going to do this. That's going to times by the x plus 10. I'm going straight into using my rules of algebra, where I don't show that times sign. And I know that that is going to equal the missing x. Okay, so it's entirely up to you if you want to put the equals x in here, or if you want to leave it blank. Leaving it blank helps you see that trapped number a lot easier, because that 9 can't slide into that space, but also keeping it in kind of shows you what you're writing, and you can see the equation. So I think you have to go with what feels comfortable for you. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start working on getting that x on its own. Once I've got x on its own, I will know what it equals. Obviously, at the moment, I've got x on both sides, so that's a problem. I've also got one of the x's trapped in brackets, and I do think of it like that. If I think of it as trapped, then I know I've got that job of getting rid of those brackets as well. The first thing that I'm going to do in order to solve this is I'm going to pick up the divide by 9, and I'm going to move that to the other side where it's going to land is times by 9. That's going to leave me 3x plus 10, and then tidy up that side. I've got my 9x. Getting that divide dealt with early, if it can be done, do it, because it's a difficult thing to have when you're trying to solve. Now I can just times out my bracket. So 3 times x, 3 times 10. That's going to give me 3x plus 30 equaling my 9x. So I've now released the x from the bracket. I'm going to move those 3 x's to the other side. Okay, so that the x's are together. It's going to land as a take. So I've now got 30 equaling 9x take 3x is 6x. Divide through by 6 to get x on its own, and you've got x is equal to 5. So we've got 5. Now, hopefully you are comfortable with all of that. Like I say, there is a different approach. We could have just worked out what the full length would be numerically and then taken the 10 away, and we would have got the 5 that way. And there's nothing wrong with that approach. And as you're working on these, you'll start to see that approach and think, why are we doing it that way? It feels easier. And I won't argue, it will feel easier to do that approach. But this is really, really important, this skill. Being able to set equations up and work in algebra and go on and solve algebra is one of the ways that you will boost your grade. The higher GCSE is just algebra all over the place. And the more confident we can be with our algebra, the better we will feel when we're faced with it in our exam. So I wouldn't opt for a different approach because it's easier. Stick with this because it will help you develop the skills that you need for that higher GCSE study. So hopefully you've got that down, because you might want that to help you with the next question. All right. I am happy for you to just listen and watch a second one, but it would be much better for you to hit that pause button, have a go at that second question using your notes on the first one, so that you can start seeing what bits of this you're understanding really well and what bits you really need to listen carefully to when we go through this. Okay, so hit pause and press play when you're ready. All right, so here we go. Question 2. I'm going to set up my box. Ready? I've got a small and a big. Find that matching pair. That's really important. They are there. So we've got 5, 7.5 on the big. The full length of the big triangle is x plus 3. And like I say, you can either leave that blank or you can fill it in with the x, okay? So I'm going to leave it blank, I think, this time. That's my trap number, 7.5. Going to pop the 5 over at the top, put my x plus 3 in, I know that's got to equal x. And then I can start to go on and solve this. So get rid of that divide first of all. So divide will land as times. I've now got 5x plus 3 equaling 7.5x. Really important to do these tidy ups so you can really see what's going on. Okay, going to expand this 5x plus 15, which equals 7.5x. And now I can just hop those 5x's across. Lands is 5x, 15, 7.5 take 5 is 2.5x. And when I divide through by that 2.5, I can work out that x is equal to 6. Okay, hopefully that went well. Correct anything, rewind, re-listen, whatever you need to do to be familiar and happy with those steps, do it. If it all is going well, then absolutely fantastic. So we're going to work on question 3. I think I might just get rid of those and move these 2 across. So we're going to work on the 3rd one now. Press pause and hit play when you're ready. Okay, so hopefully we're starting to feel a bit more confident with this. I'm going to have a small and a big triangle. I can see my matching pair is my parallel lines again, 5 and 8. To be honest, there's very little wiggle room with the way that these questions can be set up. So this is quite common. My big is x plus 6. So I'm dividing by 8. X plus 6, that's got to equal my x. I'm going to times through by the 8, giving me 5x plus 6 equaling 8x. Expand that bracket, give me 5x plus 30 equals 8x. And now start that rearranging. I want the 5 x's over there, lands as a minus. 8x take 5x is 3x. And then when I divide through by the 3, I get x is equal to 10. Okay, so hopefully that went well. And we'll clean that off. We've got one left to have a go at. So hit pause, press play when you are ready. Okay, so I need my calculator. Here we go. We've got our small, our big, our 10, our 20. On the big, we've got y plus 7.5. So 20 and 10. Y plus 7.5. That's going to equal y. So I've now got 10y plus 75 equaling 20y. Just kind of jumped ahead in my brain there. Hopefully that didn't confuse you. Hopefully I haven't made a mistake. Whenever you jump ahead, you take that risk, don't you, that something could go wrong, but that looks okay. We're going to take off that 10y, which is going to give me 75 equals 10y, divide through by the 10, and y is equal to 7.5. And it kind of makes sense that it should as well, doesn't it? Because of the scale factor being 2. Okay, so that's they're all the talk throughs. Hopefully we are feeling ready for this. You have a set of questions, which we've got there for you. And then obviously you've got your answers as well. And that's it. That is just really about making you aware that algebra literally can come up when you least expect it. It's always the same thing. It's always creating an equation where you've got it equaling something and then just manipulating it to the point where you've got the answer X equals whatever or Y equals whatever. Okay, so usual drill, just check your answers, rewind back to the questions, etc., etc. And I will see you next session.